Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. I am your host Mo for episode 37, and I'm joined once again by my jubilant friends Jody
Buenos días.
and Vinny.
Good evening.
Love the pause.
Take you a second there. Just ratcheting up the tension, Vil. What language is he going to use?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. Just making you guys sweat a bit. I have not made a final decision on how I'm going to spend this year. I'm a little bit undecided.
You don't want to take another crack at Gujarati?
No, thank you very much. I have learned my lessons well. My confidence is being shattered.
You've burnt your fingers.
Burnt my bloody body. What do you mean, my fingers?
So we're obviously nearing the end of the Shadow Rising, and I'm being struck as we are slow motion moving through the final set of chapters. I'm struck by how much meatier the tail end of this book feels than that of The Dragon Reborn. Remember how in The Dragon Reborn everything just sort of happens at the end? It was, Belal just dies, and Rand chases Ishamal through a couple of dream sequences and then plunges Kalandor into his chest. It was without too much fanfare. Yeah, I feel like shit is going down, and there's a lot of plates being spun and people being again poised for action, and with everything happening in the Two Rivers and everything happening in the Waste, stuff is going down, and I for one am enjoying it.
If you think plates are being spun with this ending, hold on to your hat.
Wait till you get to A Memory of Light, Villy. That entire book is just a climax. It is
The entire book is a clown spinning bunch of plates on sticks.
All the plates ever conceived. So yeah, I'm ready to forge ahead. But before we get to any climaxes, let's look in our collective rearview mirror and address some past selves in a section we like to call callbacks. We asked ourselves, how many tinkers in Rain's caravan? Remember we were sort of saying, is it 100? Did only 20 make it? What was it? I went back and I found the quote that you guys referenced, or the section that you referenced. It's right in the beginning of the book, chapter 1. There's nearly 100 wagons in that convoy. So we are talking hundreds of tinkers that have been, I don't want to say decimated, because that means only a tenth of them were killed, but they were soundly beaten by ye olde Shadowspawn.
I'm convinced there must be a formula to work this out. You've got to take sort of the provision wagons. There's probably a water wagon or two. There must be a formula to work out. But I'm going to say the answer is 296.
That sounds accurate. Interestingly, they also mentioned the dead mastiffs in chapter 1. They'd already killed them there. It didn't happen since then. They'd already, when they rounded them up, and Ordeith sort of squirreled a couple of tinkers around the corner, and as Bornhold suspects, probably killed them. They'd already killed the mastiffs at that point, so they'd been traveling around there without them for a little while. We wondered about who sent Julian and who sent Tom, and who sent whom to look after Nynaeve and Elaine. And I went back and I found it was Lan that sent Julian, Moiraine had sent Tom, and Rand had spoken to the Aiel, not just Gaul, but he spoke to the Aiel, telling them that Perrin will be going back to the Two Rivers and that there's a chance that he might be killed, probably knowing that Gaul would want to go because, he owes Perrin, but none of the other Aiel went with Perrin. So Rand sent Gaul, and the other two we speculated on, but we got there. Lan was the one that sent Julian. We made a quick sort of offhanded comment, exasperated by the girls and their foolhardy actions in Tanchico. And I think one of us said, they came out of the Waygate and they were collared by the Sean-chan. But I think just for the sake of pedantry, I will say here that we know that Nynaeve
I
and
knew
Elaine
you were going to
not
do
collared.
that. I knew after I said it, I knew you were going to do that.
You and all our fans, everybody knew. Everyone except me, and I should have known.
Just can you add to your tattoo collection, Captain Pedantry? It's maybe on the back of your arm or something.
Now I'll have a whole cape tattooed on my back, and then with the symbol in the middle of it, just a big P.
Just a big P.
To save a bit of face, Vil, when we spoke about Swan's warder Ulrich, who had been knifed in the back when she was ambushed in her office, you were saying, maybe he only came up there late. Maybe what was happening in the office sort of triggered his warder bond, and that's why he came up there. And that does seem to be the case. It is documented by, I think, Robert Jordan or someone close to the books who said that they are not entirely happy with how that piece was actually written, but that is what happened. It was the shock of that Swan felt that alerted Ulrich to something happening, and he ran up to the rooms, and by the time he was killed, Swan was already shielded.
Well, that tracks. That makes sense.
It does. It makes logical sense, even if it isn't super obvious how that sequence of events happens in the book. But saying it here now makes all the pieces fit for me. And then later in the cell, we were talking about Swan and Leanne, who have just been stilled. They've lost their warders. Everything is crashing home. Apparently, after being stilled, that inescapable emotional consequence of having your warder killed is not present anymore. But later in the story, when they get healed by Nynaeve, it comes back, and Swan actually spends weeks randomly just weeping for Ulrich, even though it's months
Holy
later.
Shit, that is hectic.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So she was a bit shielded. That's why she could be so together and say, okay, cool, well, this is what we got to do, blah, blah, blah. She and Ulrich had an interesting relationship because Ulrich, being the warder of the Amelin seat, did not actually have to travel with her much at all. And she often sent him away on long missions far away. So they were quite used to spending time apart. They were not like Lan and Moraine constantly in each other's company all over the world. They had a much different dynamic, which is also explains some of these actions, like why Ulrich is not sitting in the antechamber outside Swan's office. He's off doing something else. He could very likely have been sent to another country to go do something else,
Or
yeah.
It was in the morning and he was on the latrine when he felt the sudden shock. It's like, crap, I need to get somewhere.
Still on Swan, we sort of we marveled at the fact that when she was stilled, that she looked younger, just assuming that the ageless look, means you look young. But I had to go, and after listening to the episode, I had to go read up about it a little bit and just cement in my mind again, okay, so just because she had an ageless look doesn't mean that she looked young. She actually, like you said, Joe, she was young. And I also made the errant comment, like I said, she'd been Amelin for 20 years or blah, 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 blah. She hadn't. It had been 20 years, since she and Moraine were novices together, and that's how long they'd been looking for the Dragon Reborn. But then I went and I just did a couple of checks to see how Swan actually progressed through her age and when she reached which ranks. She was a novice. She was sent from Tyr the day they discovered she could channel. She went to the tower. And she was 14. She was initiated as a novice. Then she graduated to accepted at 17. She and Moraine both. They arrived on the same day, and they were promoted to accepted on the same day and raised to the shawl on the same day. Yeah, so they have this really, really strong connection. And they became Aes Sedai when they were both, or when Swan was 20. So another 3 years later. So very quick, right? Only 3 years as a novice and 3 years as an accepted. That is super, super quick. She was raised to the Amelin seat when she was 30. And so here she is 40. She had been Amelin seat for 10 years. So started channeling at 14. She's only 40 years old. So her aging has already slowed. So she's not old by any stretch of the imagination. So the ageless look that she achieved by swearing on the oath rod maybe, made her look older, if you can even apply that descriptor to something called agelessness.
Yeah.
But that sort of goes some way to explain why she looked younger after she was stilled.
I think it's the fact as well, like when you look at an Amyrlin, you just imagine her to be older than you, you just because she's so powerful and in charge, she must be old. And then when you see her real age, it's a shock to see her younger.
And it was done on purpose. She was raised, they picked a young Amyrlin when they raised her, specifically so that she could have an extremely long reign, because they had this recent run of short reigns, and it was very disruptive to the tower. So they wanted someone that was going to be there, and they stayed for 200 years. They wanted the same Amyrlin. So they raised her young. That didn't quite go according to plan, did it?
No.
That is a pretty long... Well, she did a tenth of the projected time.
Not even. She was Amyrlin for 10 years.
She's done a lot better than most democracies' presidents, so...
Yes.
I wouldn't call the tower a democracy, though.
No.
No, as we've clearly seen.
Just a good dictatorship run, on average, I imagine.
Benevolent dictator. Our next one is a correction for myself. Not a correction, but a clarification, because I did a pretty piss-poor job of describing a passage that passes between Avienda and Rand when she's talking, she's sort of muttering to herself, that I found humorous, where Rand doesn't understand what she's talking about at all, but it pertains directly to him. So I'm just going to read a little section here from chapter 48, which goes... this is when Avienda's talking about Isandre and giving Rand shit for even looking at her. She goes, "Soft," Avienda grunted. "Elaine is not soft. You belong to Elaine. You should not be caressing eyes with this milk-skinned wench." She shook her head fiercely, muttering to herself. Our ways shock her. She could not accept them. Why should I care if she can? I want no part of this. It cannot be. If I could, I would take you, Shane, and give you to Elaine. And then Rand goes, why would Isandre accept Aiel ways? But Avienda's talking about Elaine and potentially having Rand having multiple wives. And Rand, just as usual, completely missing the point. And Avienda just goes, the wide-eyed look she gave him was so startled he almost laughed. Immediately she scowled as if he had done something infuriating. Aiel women were surely no easier to understand than any others.
Word.
Strap in, Rand. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
You said it.
I went back and I checked to see if there's any indication that Morgidian used the true power when she used compulsion on the girls, because, Elaine had readied herself before she entered the room and everything, but there's no signs, and I don't think that it was happening there.
No, she was just as quick as lightning. She was just...
Yeah.
Bam.
Only 29 people had ever been granted access to the true power in the history of humankind, and so that's including the Age of Legends. And it's also only given temporarily. It's not like, now you have access and you can always channel it, except later when we meet Moradin, obviously we know that he can, and that's why he has the Sa. I think that's what they were called, those little black dots that drift across his eyes. Quickly, I'm not going to expound on the classification of the power levels of the Aes Sedai here, because those annotations are still a mystery to me. I still need to go, actually, that'll be for a callback section or for an episode at some other time when there's a very obvious need to discern who is the most powerful person in the room. But we were sort of speculating about who could be the most powerful in the room when Morgidian was with Elaine and Nynaeve, and it is Nynaeve the most powerful, then Morgidian, and then Elaine. And Elaine and Egwene are the exact same level.
I think we should agree that it is Mordin.
She comes up a lot in my chapters, and I have specifically written it that way so that I pronounce it Mordin from now on.
Excellent. Joe, you also have the most experience in pronouncing Klingon words, as you equated that pronunciation to last time.
Oh, I have very, basic Klingon.
Well, that's more than either Villy or I.
Well, most people on Earth.
Yes. Then we had a couple of listener contributions. We had Jono Pierce write in again to say that she likes to think that when Carradine recounts the tale of his cousin being skinned alive in his bedchamber, that it could be that guy that Perrin runs into in Teleron Riyadh.
Yeah.
Because Carradine comes from a rich family, He comes from nobility in Amadisia. So the guy that Perrin saw was dressed differently. Perrin didn't know his dress, but he looked like a noble. And so Carradin's cousin, if it's a noble family, would have been a noble. And the guy obviously would have been sleeping when his skin got ripped off. And it's a cool little link that I hadn't made before. I've not done the due diligence here. Mr. Pedantry has not gone and checked the timelines and all that nonsense. But for now, I'm going to keep this cool little idea in my head.
Well, here's a pin for later. Take it. There you go.
Oh, thank you. And I'll stick it right in there. And just for your gratification, Willie, Jono also picked Moghedien doing the Mohdin doing the compulsion on Elaine and Nynaeve as her favorite moment in the last episode. So you weren't alone in that one.
Fantastic. See, there's some more dark friends out there.
I wanted to say it as well.
Dark friends, join the dark side.
Statistically, aren't like 40% of people dark friends. If you follow Aes Sedai tendencies. We had Jason Hall write in to say that for traveling, you don't need to know your destination very well. You only need to know your current location very well to be able to weave a gateway. But interestingly, for skimming, it's the other way around. For skimming, if you don't know where you are, but you know the place that you have to get to, you can do the skimming thing, which I think will come up pretty soon. Jason also pointed out that in episode 23, going a little ways back now, when Matt kills that footpad in Tarvalon. Yeah, that I think we said was a grey man. Unimportant. Let's not relitigate that. We said wow, this is the first time Matt's actually killed someone. But Jason pulled us up and said, but he also sliced that Sean Chan soldier with a dagger at the end of the Great Hunt.
Oh, yes.
When he gets all blackened and swollen and
bulbous.
Very, very dead.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, short chain don't count.
No. No, we said kill the person.
Yes, not those fuckers.
Then, it wouldn't be a callback section without a contribution from the mailman delivering once again. Richard Jackson writes in to let us know that the fighting style that Bruce Lee invented was Jeet Kune Do.
Yes. I did go look that up.
You did?
I knew he invented
pretty
something.
Interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole philosophy behind it is that what Bruce Lee noticed is that people were too stuck in specific styles, and it was limiting. Where he was saying you shouldn't ever limit yourself. Like you should be able to flow and use between styles the things that are most efficient and most energy efficient, and not telegraphed. He was big on not showing your opponent what you're going to do by how you're positioning your body and everything, keeping everything fluid right up until the moment of impact when you go rigid and that sort of stuff, which is pretty cool.
Much like using the left trigger and the right trigger buttons in some old games to change your styles while doing combat in Mortal Kombat.
Some games called Immoral Wombat.
Immoral Wombat, that's the one.
I think that's the second time we've mentioned Immoral Wombat on this podcast. And certainly not the last.
Many hours of game time that we had spent.
Yes. Okay, but that will do it for us for corrections. So let's then go to, I should say, did you guys have any corrections you wanted to add? Willie, you've been making a habit of logging a couple in at the end.
No, not this time round. I feel that pedantry had done enough.
Yes. Enough, Moritz. Get on with it.
I had looked up that jiu-jitsu thing, Jeet Kune Do thing, but had totally forgotten about it. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's all. That's my...
That's what I'm here for, Joe.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Pedantry and note taker. So, previously on Blood and Ashes, the Tinkers and White Cloaks entered Eamon's field, and Aram took up the sword, abandoning the Way of the Leaf. Nynaeve and Elaine escape an attempted abduction with the help of Edgy Annie, only to later be compelled to spill the beans about their hunt for the Black Ajah to Mohdin, who then leaves them alive, foolishly, for some reason. Swan is deposed by Elida and her cohorts, and she and Leanne are both stilled, but then Min and Loris set them free, and Min and Leanne and Swan try to escape the tower, only to run into Gowan, who gives them a lot of shit and a small cut in the neck area, and then who actually eventually facilitates their escape. And just before they run away, they happen to run into Logain, who joins their merry party.
It's all happening.
And then, and then right at the end, we had Rand and his buddies traveling with the Aiel and the shifty peddlers towards Cold Rock's hold. And they describe the events over the last 11 days. Matt's basically just trying to woo Isandre, and Avienda giving Rand shit. But Villy, you called it at the end of our last chapter in our last episode. They arrive at Cold Rock's hold, and that brings us to chapter 49, called Cold Rock's Hold. So, Willem,
That's the one.
why don't you tell us more about it?
Cold Rock's Hold is where a lot of people live. It's a place in a mountain or in the sun. No, let me tell you about the chapter, Cold Rock's Hold. Rand and the whole party have arrived. Rock announced it. Come and let your eyes show you the Cold Rock's Hold. And Rand's like, what? Where? And Avienda gives him a little bit of shit about him not being able to see anything. But he realizes that these buttes that stands out like massive columns, there's what I would assume a crack or a valley in between them. And that is where the hold is in. Now, Rock had dropped his veil and his shofar.
Shufa.
And Shufa. And they have
Lufa.
really Lufa. They have started making a lot of noise. It's kind of like you're not going to try and surprise someone coming into the hold. You're going to go in there, show yourself, your complete self, make a lot of noise, so you're not surprising someone and get a spear stuck up your wazoo. With that, the people are acknowledged to be approaching, and the whole sept comes out and makes a noise, which I can only imagine to be a lot of that woman going.
I'm pretty sure they described that, ululating or something.
Ululating. I don't know if the word means it, but yeah,
It does
But
now.
that's what it means.
it's in my mind. That's exactly what I thought, and it's like, okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense. Banging of pots and pans, and just a raucous has erupted in the
Cutting on.
Cutting on.
You broke him again. Man. Stop it.
Okay. Anyway, so formalities first. Rock walks up, and he walks up to the roof mistress. His name is Leanne. Leanne?
Yes.
Yes.
No, either
This is acceptable.
It's pronounced Leah.
This will do. And very formally asks permission to enter her roof. And she's, very, very quickly says, well, of course, my love. For you, anything. It's holds your hold. Carry on. And Rock walks past and in. His mate, old Heron, he's the clan chief of the Jindo. He asks exactly the same and gets the formal water and shade is available. Be welcome. What's the exact words? I had it here in front of me in a second ago.
I think it's Mikasa is Sukasa, I think is what they say.
Very, very close to that, actually. Not too far off that. Water and shade will be found for you. No, that's the insult one.
Oh, yeah. Spoilers.
Yeah. Beneath my roof, there's water and shade for you, and the Jindo sept is always welcome. So that's very formal. 2 thumbs up. You're a good Airbnb person. Your score's high. Pull on in.
5-star review.
5-star reviews. And then, to the disdain of everyone, Couladin decides to pull in as well. And everyone's like, what's this idiot doing? Firstly, he's not a clan chief, but he's acting like a clan chief. His hair is swollen like a melon. But on his way past Rand, he shoots him blue-iced daggers. Like, fuck you. Not a stoked guy. And then he walks up to Leanne and also asks exactly the same. And no reply. Very long quiet, and people sort of whispering behind their hands. And Rand's like, what's happening here? And Avienda tells him, like, whoa, if she declines him, like, he has to leave. There's no two ways. He can't do a thing about it. So this is all up to her. She has the final say whether these shadow dogs can stay or if they have to go. And she then blasts him with the ultimate insult in saying, water and shade will be found for you. Soft gasps broke out around. Everyone's like, oh! So she basically welcomed the shadow in, but insulted him as like, and treated him like he was a beggar, like the ultimate insult. And he is so angry that he's grabbing at his own arms to not grab a spear. He's that insulted, and obviously wants to take it out on Rand as he walks away and shoots the daggers towards him. But with that, pleasantries all done. Matt has pulled up now next to Rand. It was insulting for Couladin, but anyway. They move in and they see, all right, what this actually the cold rocks mean. So it's what you would imagine is like a cavern or a crevice between two of these massive spires that allows the area to have a lot of shade. And up against the slopes of these cliffs are houses, and there are plenty of greenery between them. There's obviously water in the area, and they get led to Leanne's house now at this stage by Leanne, her wife, Miss, and Ruach. And this is Rand's first introduction. He's like, because Ruach comes to him and says to him, hey, Rand, you've met my wife, Miss. Now meet my wife, Leanne. And Rand's jaw just hits the ground, and he's like, I can have Min and I can have Elaine.
Don't stop there, Rand. And one more.
Oh, Rand.
I am an Aiel.
Oh, just don't you. You don't know yet, man. Don't you just relax. You can see what's going to happen. Anyway, they then get taken to the roof mistress's house, and Rand thinks like, okay, that's a pretty modest looking stone house. Thinking maybe 2-bedroom, not really fit for a king type vibes. Until he gets in and realizes that the house is just the facade, is like just the marketing department of modesty. But when you get in,
it's like Harry Potter tent on the
caverned
inside.
out. It's like a Harry Potter tent. That's a good one, Joe. They have got, there's a definite lack of chairs. There's only one chair in the place, and that's like the clan chief's throne that no one sits on. It's kind of like lay down on a pillow, tapestries, like rooms, really, really nice, like vegetable garden out front with strange fruit like tomato, which is tomatoes, definitely. Maybe some heirloom tomatoes, you never know. That's for you, Adrian. And they make themselves sort of at home. At that stage, Geiststein comes in with hot towels to do a wipe down, and the formalities again. Rand pulls out the golden lion, a carved golden lion, which he through the raid got off someone in trade, and he offers it to Leanne, sort of a house, here's a gift for me staying in your house, guest gift. Thanks, Joe. And Matt begrudgingly does the same thing because Matt doesn't like to part with things. But he gives a nice silver bracelet from wherever that was from. Can't even remember now.
The looted place.
I think it's a necklace or something that Rand thinks he undoubtedly was intending to give to Asandre.
Yes, it's much better spent where it was spent there, I must say.
Indeed.
They then lie down on the many scattered pillows. Lan, just as the rock that he is, looks like he's always grown up on the pillows. He just lies down. Moraine looks even comfortable. Rand just doesn't know how to do this, but he tries his best. And then they get served by the Gashine some goats with some peppers and all this weird food and tomatoes and everything else. But they're eating away, and there's...
it's mealies, right? It's corn.
Maze.
Could be. Yeah.
No, they just took the ZE off the end and put it in the front, and there you go. Zamai.
Yeah.
They also describe it as like a broad-leafed, tall broad-leaf plant with spiky yellow cones.
Yeah. Okay. No. Well, then it's maze.
They describe mealies.
Yeah.
Mealies. Now there's a lot of chatting in between. There's sort of updating on what's happening, and most importantly, how is everyone progressing to getting together at the Golden Bowl? The wise ones then say, well, look, they've got word now that one sept is already there, and they're going to start, everyone is going to start sort of arriving within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So best they arrive a month from now. And Rand chokes on his peppers and goats.
On his Zamai.
Can't wait a month. Just, it's impossible. And they're like, well, you don't want to shame any of the other clan chiefs, because if you arrive before them, you're casting a shadow on them for being late. So it's really important that you arrive after everyone's arrived. And it's like, well, what about the Shido then pulls in and they start they've got a blood feud with the Gwashin and they're going to start murdering each other. And they're like, no, this is like Ruidian. There's a peace there. And the clan chiefs will honor it. There's no doubt about it. So drink your dark rum spice drink and wine and you relax for a month.
But right now, the Shido don't have a clan chief.
Yeah.
That's why people are mistrustful of them already. And now they will be led there by Savannah, who they mention now as the wife of the deceased clan chief that Muradin went to Ruidian to replace.
Do we also say, ugh, Savannah?
Yes.
All right.
Or Savannah.
Wasting water as well, just spitting it on the ground like that. Yes, that's brilliant, Moritz.
Savannah. Sorry, man. You just triggered me.
Which sidetracked really completely. There's a little bubble of hate now.
But yeah, there's the normal pleasantries. Avienda and Rand. There was a bit of a chat there or a chirp from Rock that, look, maybe Rand doesn't know all the customs because Avienda hasn't been teaching him like she should. And Rand stands up for her and it's like, no. If there's anyone at fault, it's me, not from her. She's been doing a great job. But he then sort of gets a side attention and says to her, like, look, if you really are that unhappy with carrying on being my teacher, like, you're welcome to go. Like, I'll ask for someone else. And that also doesn't sit well with her. But eventually Rand decides to depart and take himself for a walk. And that's the end of the chapter. It's just a little bit of table setting, really. Not
Really?
Not much.
I was expecting more.
The end of that dinner party it's pretty tense because Rand is, I think, busy talking about leading the Aiel, and then Moraine pipes up and she goes, so where are you going to lead them to war? And Rand is like,
Shut
I'm gonna go get some air. Shut up, Moraine. And she's all like playing coy, like straight faced, just trying to wind him up because she's getting frustrated with his activity here in the waist. She thinks he should be on the other side of the spine doing stuff.
But look at what he did. He just walked away, kept quiet, walked away. I think Avienda also gave him a chirp like, hey, don't wound up too much. But he doesn't pull Elaine and Nynaeve and just goes, I'm going to lead them to this GPS coordinates and we're going to have
wearing this
the
disguise.
this attack, wearing this.
This is actually like one of the things that, becomes one of Rand's more negative traits as the story enters the middle phase, is him closing himself off to everybody. He's already shown, we mentioned it in the previous episode, how great it is when Jason Natal comes to Rand, like starts asking me all these questions. And he's just, the wheel as the wheel wills, just being completely vague and stonewalling it, as, juxtaposed with Nynaeve and Elaine just blurting everything out to everyone and then getting compelled and doing even more. But yeah, Rand is not sharing any of his plans with anybody. And while right now that might seem like a wise move, he ends up bottling up way too much stuff and taking on way too much stuff for himself that he eventually cracks under the pressure.
Why do you think that is? That is like he just doesn't trust people.
Well, he says, I think either in this chapter or one of the ones coming up, I think it's the next one, while he's walking, he thinks to himself, Moiraine, if only I could trust her. So yes, exactly that, really. Like, he can't trust anybody. And I feel like that one thing that Lan taught him in the beginning about, duty is lighter than a feather and heavier than a mountain. That sentiment sticks with him throughout the stories. Like he takes on all this responsibility, and he doesn't share the burden with anybody because he feels it's his duty. There's a prophecy. He's the one that has to fight in the final battle. He's the one that has to do all this stuff. Yeah. If he lets anyone know what he's planning or doing, that's advantages that they can use against him, like information they can use against him. So he clams up completely, and it fucks him up pretty badly.
Yeah. And eventually he breaks through. That's when Cadsuane enters the picture. That's what she's trying to do, is bring him back to humanity.
She tries to, yeah.
Yeah. She's not really the best person for that job, personality-wise.
No. No. Did you guys also have a much clearer picture of what Cold Rocks looks like this time around?
Yeah. I pictured it as kind of like Uluru, how it's pronounced, just maybe not so red. And like with a huge cut in it, and then you walk in the middle and it kind of opens up, long canyon. Yes. And then at the end is where the canyon kind of leans over, and that's where the sun never touches and where the rocks are always cold. Because of that, But nice green balconies, and like not how I imagined how the Aiel lived at all.
No.
In Jordan, there's quite a bit of dwellings that's carved out in rock faces.
Petra.
Like a bit of that. But a bit of that vibe, but also mixed in with sort of the Arizona landscape with that. It's like big spires that stand out.
Buttes and mesas and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also on... I was going to say, also on Arrakis, the Fremen people have carved out a number of dwellings and stuff from the rock as well. Another reference there from our geography textbooks. I love how Matt looks at it and he goes, he could defend that for a year.
Yeah.
It's like immediately looking at its defensive capabilities and summing it up. He compares it to the Stone of Tyr and another famous fortress.
Yeah, what was the other one? Some other famous fortress. And Rad's like, what's that? I'm like, wow, no, nothing. That's something I read.
Book once.
Well, it's not famous if no one knows it.
No. We breezed past the fact that when Rand asks for permission to come into Cold Rock's hold, he uses the same request that Euron does, and not the same one that Ruark does. He was supposed to ask as a clan chief like Ruark, but he asked the more modest version, or like the one that is not for the returning clan chief. And that's when what's her name, Leanne, when she says to Rand, or she says to everyone, it's nice to finally meet a man that knows his place, or a man that's modest, or something along those lines. There's not a lot of those around. So Rand inadvertently endeared himself to the people by using the less noble version.
Yeah, he also bowed in that, and she tried to courtesy in the own little weird way. So I missed that one completely. Notes.
Yeah, that's why I was shocked when you said, and that's the end of the chapter. I was just getting settled in. There's a lot of nuance here. Like when they're sitting around the table, for example, lying on their bellies. I think I would never be able to eat like that. Like
lying on their sides, on their elbows.
They're lying on their bellies, like eating like that, and it's just weird. And Avienda's in his ear, blah 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 blah, like trying to teach him, but doing it like you're an asshole in an idiot way. And the wise ones are noticing, and Moraine's little chirp at him as well. Because then later, in my chapter now, we'll get into Avienda's punishment for that action.
And then what I laughed at is Matt's lying on the other side of Avienda, and he sort of like peeks over her shoulder at Rand and just rolls his eyes at her. God, how's this chick?
Having a hard time there, Rand. Glad I'm not you.
Fuck, I love Matt. Matt warns Rand against Couladin again. When Couladin's stalking off, Matt's like, I'm serious, Rand. Watch out for that one.
Yeah.
It's Matt that kills Couladin, isn't it? At Do My Wells.
I have no idea. You're asking
Spoiler
the
alert.
Remember.
Yeah.
Put in that one. Let's put a wager down. I think it's Matt, and I think it's at Do My Wells. I think Matt kills Couladin.
I can't even put a wager. I don't even know where to begin.
Doesn't
I have no
Rand
memory
kill
of that
Couladin
whatsoever.
at Ruidian?
Really?
Okay, Rand fights
Raffo.
Asmodean at Viridian.
Yes. But Couladin's not there.
Okay, no, Couladin's not there. You're right.
See, we're way off marks.
Did you guys also notice that Rand is like constantly on the brink of laughter?
He's insane.
In madness. That's
throughout these chapters. Like he's very like, whoa, buddy. Okay, cool it. Rein it in a bit. But I guess it's appropriate for to start showing like over a protracted period of time, we do get drip fed these little signs of madness. And it's very much starting already.
We should get a madness scale going and update it over time, like 1 to 10.
One of those little
10 being the
until
ultimate,
he starts redlining.
yeah. 10 being mad as a hat, and 1 being I've just learned I can channel. Where do we reckon Rand would be standing right now? Sort of like 1, 2,
3. Yeah, okay, yeah, 2.5.
I also had another chuckle at Matt sort of like trying to make eyes at the guy Shane, and then the fierce look she gives him like wipes the smile right off his face, and then she's got the self-satisfied look on her face, for which she then gets reprimanded later.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the same one that comes later. Is like the same guy Shane throughout the whole series of chapters here in the West.
She gets killed.
Yeah, the one that gets killed.
Guy Shane.
Shush.
Yeah, she gets killed.
But I wonder if this is her.
Matt tried his luck there. Moraine also tried to offer a gift. She came into Leanne's house, but she was denied, saying that, look, no, it's honor enough to have an Aes Sedai. And Leanne says to Moraine that she has heard that in the past they served the Aes Sedai. But nothing definitive. And Rand sort of like thinks about it, and it's like, obviously that bond, or that being bound to Viridian and seeing that history, is not even shared within spouses. Like that's like a Miss will know it because she went
and Ruach,
and so did Ruach, but none of them, sister, wives, or husband, didn't share it with Leanne. Like,
no,
it's just, or maybe they did, and she's just really good at keeping secrets.
I think Amis and Leanne were friends before they even met Ruach. You know, like they've got an even longer history. Rand muses to himself, like while all this stuff is going down, he thinks to himself that a part of his plan was following the path he'd hoped for, the most dangerous part. I was just wondering, like, do you guys have any idea what that would be? Like, what is Rand's plan here? Like the Aiel coming to his aid, like maybe he means his plan separate from Moiraine's, focused purely on the wetlands, you know, like maybe his plan is going according to plan to get the Aiel behind him.
That's what I figure.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not even going to guess, because I mean, at this moment, Moraine is just thinking about her wetland prophecy. Meanwhile, there's several other prophecies working at the same time. There's the same hands that's moving.
Oh, yes.
Rand's just like, this is all part of all the threads in the pattern. Like, you got to let the pattern weave itself around you at this point in time.
And it is. On that note, should we move on to chapter 50? It's called Traps. Why don't you take us through that trap, Jody?
Traps within traps. Let's do it. So, yeah, Rand left the room previously, all sulky, and he's outside looking down at the canyon, wishing that he could trust Moraine, not to hand him over like instantaneously to the tower if that came to it. But he also thinks like maybe he can use her. So he has his little manipulation part coming in, how he can, you know, he's already at that stage where he's thinking, how can I manipulate Aes Sedai? You know, I love how the boys, you know, all of them, Nynaeve and Egwene as well, from the village, already at that stage, like, you know, fuck these Aes Sedai. How can we use them to suit our needs? You know, it's only 4 books in. I know, like, to a normal series, that would be the end of the series, but we knowing, like, we've still got 10 books to go, so it's early days. Yeah. So he makes his way down all the paths, and we get to see more of Cold Rock's Hold. You know, like, it's not just houses. Obviously, there's got to be bakeries and blacksmiths and weavers and potters and all the things that, you know, a society would need. So we get to see all those places, see kids running around, and, you know, people that are not fighters as well. Like, obviously, some of the Aiel are not all warriors, although all of them could handle themselves in a pinch. They all basically dress the same, only like small differences. They're all in the Caden saw, some with belt knives, some don't have a shufa, but otherwise they look exactly the same. Everyone's looking at him. Like, who is this dude that the clan chiefs and the wise ones honor and welcome like this? Because I imagine that they don't know he's the Kara Khan. Like, it's only a select few of the Aiel leadership that know who he is, because they haven't. That I suppose, does every Aiel just know the prophecy, or is it something that's reserved?
I think we've asked this question before.
But I suppose it's like the Karathon cycle, like, sure, it's out there for anyone to know, but the average person doesn't give a shit about it. So maybe it's the same with the Aiel, although they are not average.
Yeah, they get taught as little kids in Sunday school. They get taught about it for a little while, and then it just stays sort of in the background, like there's this prophecy.
Or maybe they all know that one day there will be a chief of chiefs, but they won't know the detail from that conversation outside of Rewillian from the glass columns, about, what that actually means for the Aiel.
Regardless, there's a wetlander here, and their clan chief brought him in, and he was welcomed and as a chief himself and stuff. So there's talk anyway about who this guy is.
Yeah, no one's going, what the fuck is this guy doing here? No one's up in arms about this happening, so there must have been some groundwork laid.
Yeah, something. I don't know. There's rumors are beginning to spread. He looks down and he sees the peddlers' wagons, and they are making a killing. They're raking it in hand over fist, obviously, because they're in town and everyone is trying to get something off them. I don't know what you referred to them earlier, Moritz. What adjective you used for these peddlers?
Shifty.
Shifty, that's it. Shifty peddlers. I think we'll just refer to them as that from now on, because their names are unpronounceable. So he makes his way down to the maiden barracks, so to speak, but is, of course, denied entrance. The two that are outside there, they take his message inside, though, and he's looking for a gift for Avienda to try and, calm her down, I imagine, not knowing the can of worms he's opening up.
Oh, boy.
But the maidens do. They're like,
big can of worms.
We'll be right back. They go inside and they come out with, I think it's all of the maidens. When they hear that Rand is outside and he wants something for Avienda, they all come out and they are loving it, watching him squirm. He looks through all kinds of stuff and he gets her a bracelet, and they won't take payment from him when they learn it's for Avienda. So they're like, oh, it's for Avienda. You'll dishonor us if you give us any money or trade for this. So anyway, but they do bring him some tea. And he has some sort of ceremony. Like, I know he's a bit of a wool-headed sheep herder, but, when you've got like 50 women kissing you and sharing tea and saying words, remember honor, something's going on, dude. Like, you should be aware.
70. It's 70 women. Yes, it takes 70 sips from that cup.
And he still doesn't realize what's going on. He is a fool.
No.
Anyway.
What have I done here?
Yes, he should be realizing at least that. But he doesn't.
And this moment also triggers the request from the maidens later to be his honor guard. And we know how that eventuates, right? Like that actually continues for the duration of the story. Like Rand has this
That's
special
one of the coolest
relationship with
thing.
the maidens. And this is how it starts. I'd forgotten that completely.
That's right, man. So bracelet in hand and belly full of tea, he goes to find Avienda. She is vigorously beating a carpet, one of many that she will have to beat because of her attitude towards Rand during the meal. She has been sent out to beat some rugs until she comes to her senses. When he gives her the bracelet, she kind of looks at it like she's never seen bracelets before, and it's true, she's never worn any kind of jewelry previously, because as a maiden, anything that makes a noise that will clink on your arm when you're trying to move is going to like negate your stealth as you're trying to sneak up on somebody or something. So she's never really worn anything like this before. But like the way she puts it on her wrist as well, and then like stares at it in the sky like, whoa, like she's holding a snake or something. But she's like, all right, I'll take it. Thank you very much for this, But when he tells her about this weird ceremony that he had to go through to get it, she's like, oh, God. You really do know nothing, yeah. Jon Snow all over again.
Yeah, but at that same moment, she's like, oh, yeah, they accepted him. This makes it a lot easier for me to start making moves.
I don't know if she's at that point yet. She's still fighting it, I think. But
she's still fighting it very much.
So this is the step in the right direction.
But Willie, I think what you're picking up on is something that I picked up on as well in this conversation. She sort of seems to relent a little bit, like there is a bit of like give in that complete stonewalling that she's given him. Like she almost like says, oh, I guess, okay, cool, I see what's happening. And she has like a much more truthful tone when she's talking to him. Like I also feel like the cracks are definitely
But
starting to
she
show.
also didn't want him to go back and change it. Like say like no, don't go back. Don't do that.
Nah,
You're just gonna
that's gonna make it worse.
dishonor them
Yeah.
and make them feel like whether that's
Yeah.
true or not. I don't know, but I can see
No,
a
for sure.
veneer starting to crack.
Now, Joe, before you get going,
Yeah. Okay.
sorry, before you go any further, you quickly threw out there, you know nothing, Jon Snow. And I mean, this red-headed wildling woman saying to her wetlander male love interest, you know, she says it twice because she says, you truly know nothing, do you? You know nothing. I was like, okay, I have to go look now at the publishing dates of the different books. And this book was published in 1992. The first book of Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, was published in 1996. So before anyone says this is a Game of Thrones ripoff, this came first.
Yes,
And I will go so far as to say that the use of that phrase in this specific dynamic seems to be a direct either nod or let's call it a nod, an homage.
Let's stop there. Yeah.
Yes.
Homage. Yes, sounds very fancy.
They were friends.
Yeah, they were.
Old Robert Jordan and George.
Old George. Yeah. So can I continue?
Please do.
All right. Thank you very much. So they do discover now, Rand discovers at least, that this whole ceremony was because the maidens now believe that Rand is trying to court her. Like he wants to show that he's interested in her. So he's like, oh, dear light. No. That's Willie when he says, okay, I'll just go back and apologize and take it back. She's like, no, don't do that. Because that would cause Avienda great dishonor. And there's a bunch of dishonor going on, G-Toe and all that stuff that we'll never understand. And she actually apologizes to him at this point. Like, not only, I mean, that's a pretty major crack in that veneer. She's actually apologizes. And he is taken aback by that. Yeah, like, wow, she accepts the gift. She even apologizes. But, you know, she does go back
She's human after all.
Yeah, she does go back to beating the shit out of those rugs as soon as he leaves.
Yes.
So it's not all cracks yet. He even thinks to himself when he's walking back, like, she apologized. And that actually sounded like she even meant it. Like, wow, all right. Progress. He's stoked. Like, great. Because if he has to spend so much time with her, it's going to be better if they're not, you know, she doesn't always look at him like she hates him. So he found her outside Leanne's house, by the way. So anyway, he's inside Leanne's house now. And he discovers all the wise ones are there, and they quickly hush up when they see him. We're not talking about you. And they did not tell Avienda to apologize. So he asks them, like, did you tell her to apologize to me? And they're like, no, did she? And they think, like, oh, progress. So things are looking up. She's making progress. It's a hard transition for her. So he lets them know that, look, you must realize that I know she's a spy, right? That you put her, you know, with me. And they're like, no, don't worry about it. In that case, why are you keeping her around? And he's like, well, you know, at least I know then who the spy is. It's much better. Turns out all the wise ones want is to save as many Aiel as possible, because he's trying to tell them, like, you'll never find out what you want to find out from me with the spy that you sent. And they're like, look, the only thing we want is to save as many people as we can. If you remember the prophecy, a remnant of a remnant shall be saved. And they're just trying to make that remnant as big as possible. And that whatever his blood or what the prophecy says, they know he doesn't care about them. Like he doesn't have that feeling that he's one of them. And it's true. He doesn't. And he's literally only there to get them and use them as a weapon. So they're making their own plans. This guy Shane there shows him to his room. And this is the one I was thinking of. If it's the same one. I forget. I've written her name down later on. But I wonder if it's the same one that gave Matt the Chion or something. Yes.
Chion something.
Something along those lines. Anyway, she shows him to his room when the wise ones leave, and the guy Shane is kind of like shocked when he asks for some wash water. He's like, no more sweat tents for me. I doubt that Moraine and Egwene have to sit in a sweat tent all naked. And he's like, no, wait, everyone does, dude. You're not the only one. But he wants some water. When she brings it back, she even offers to bath him, and he's like, no, okay, get out now. You've gone too far. And then he basically goes to bed. It's like, all right, I'm going to have some sleepy time, wondering about the wise one's plans, Avienda's, and what traps are waiting for him, hence the title of this chapter. So obviously he falls asleep, and in we go to the world of dreams. What a lovely dream he's having. He's skinny dipping in a river with Min and Elaine. Nice. One on either side. If he has to swim to one, he has to leave the other behind in his metaphorical dream. Avienda is there too, but she is on the bank, fully clothed. And again, telling him, you don't know. You don't know who you love. But interesting here that in his dream, I don't know if this is the first time, Richard, you're going to have to let us know, that he has now pictured all three of his future partners in one place at the same time. And I wonder if that's because of the apology and the cracks in her facade that he experienced.
I think this is the second time
that he's seen all three.
But Avienda wasn't there before.
No, there was someone that he didn't recognize.
No, that happens in this scene. The previous time he was there was with Min and Elaine, and then he saw Egwene. And he was like, "Oh, Egwene, this is not what it looks like." And then she runs away.
Yes.
And we speculated about whether that could have been Egwene actually being in his dream.
It probably was.
You're right.
Yeah.
We discounted that in a callback section.
Oh, if you say so. So he invites Avienda in. He's very bold now. It's like, hey, why don't you come and join us? But guess who else is there? Lanfear. Hey. And she's already naked. She's like, I'll get in. What about me? So now we've got 4 beautiful women in the dream with him. And all 3 of the other women just disappear. So now it's just him and Lanfear. And she jumps in very gracefully, arching back and like a Olympic diver, swims up to him
like
and then
dolphin.
wraps her arm like a dolphin. I don't know. Is that the sound dolphins make?
Sure. When being chased by a dog.
That's much better, Willie. I'll leave the animal sounds to Willie. All right. Where was I? Oh, yes. She's wrapped herself around him. So he's in this pool with this, like the world's most beautiful woman, naked, wrapping her arms and legs around him. And she tells him that she will make him enjoy this so that he never forgets, awake or asleep. And then he's like, awake or asleep? And the kind of like blurs and shifts. Because at this point, he doesn't know he's in the world of dreams. But she brings him back. She just squeezes him tighter and tries to control it. Slowly, though, he's starting to realize that something is a bit off. She threatens to mark him. Now, I had assumed that when she visited him after Felme, that she marked him there. But maybe that wasn't. Or maybe the mark wears off after a while. You've got to keep renewing it. And I don't know.
Or she healed him and got interrupted.
Yeah,
she draws something that looks like a symbol on his forehead when Min is observing her do it. Like,
I thought that was a mark.
She uses the word mark in that scene as well. Pretty sure. Call back.
Anyway, there you go. Well, she threatens to do it again, maybe just to solidify it or something. And then she bites him in the neck, drawing blood and everything. Meow. She's crazy. Oh, I thought I left the animal sounds to Willie. Cat noise, please, Willie. Meow. No. That's just weird. Suddenly, there's another man there, but he's all fuzzy. It's Asmodean, obviously, we know. But he's... Now, I've written here, like, he's disguised as a blur. Now, that's how you disguise yourself, people. No one's going to recognize you. You're just like a grayish blur of mist. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. And Avienda, Lanfear's just like, hey, buddy, no one invited you here. And suddenly Lanfear's back, dressed on the bank, dry and clothed. And Asmodean is not happy that she is jeopardizing the plan. Like, she's putting too much at risk to try and get to him, get to Rand. And if he must take all the risks as well, he wants more than, and I quote, pulling strings on a puppet. So has she promised him that he will have control over Rand as a puppet? Or who is the puppet in this? Silence.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
What is the context? Like, what does he say exactly?
He says that if he has to take these kind of risks, then he wants more than pulling strings on a puppet. Like, his reward must be more than that. So maybe she went and found him where he was hiding and said, look, you help me control Rand, and then you can have control over the Dragon Reborn or something, or I don't know. Why
or
he would
maybe
believe
someone
that.
else. Maybe Asmodean has designs on controlling someone else. It doesn't necessarily need to be Rand.
That's my question. Is it Rand or is it someone else? Anyway,
Let us know.
we have no idea. So anyway, they both disappear, and Rand wakes up, checks his neck, and indeed the bite marks and the blood are still there.
Now all he has to do is go around and match people's teeth to the bite mark in his neck to see who Lanfear is disguised as. Bit of forensic detective work.
CSI Cold Rocks or something. What is it? He's about to go back to sleep. Like, this is very strange. Like, he wakes up, bite marks, Lanfear, and he goes, I'm tired. And he just rolls over to go to sleep again. Like, he must be really tired. Whatever. Weirdest shit has happened to me in my dreams. But before he can fall asleep again, he senses that he's not alone in the room. So he reaches for the source, like, kind of scared he's not going to be able to grab it. Like, as usual, that might happen. But he embraces Saidin, channels 2 flows, lighting all the lamps in the room at the same time, and wrapping up this intruder in flows of air. And it's Avienda. Not to worry. She's in there now. Basically what happened was she tells him that the wise ones, because she's freaked out now, he's using the power on her. She spills the beans that the wise ones are watching him over him. There's so many letters. The wise ones are watching. That's what I'm trying to say. Over him and Telonriod as well. And he's like, shit, those women are spying on me, even in my dreams. But apparently tonight was too dangerous. She doesn't know why or what the details are. So basically she was sent in to keep a physical eye on him right there in his room. But before he can get any more details out of her, he senses a wrongness and an evil. Is that because he's channeling?
Maybe.
At the time, because he has embraced the source. So he senses this evil, and the red flame sword appears in his hands, and he goes to investigate. Of course, he releases Avienda from the flows of air, and he goes to investigate to find a Draghkar feeding on Chion. There, I wrote a name, or Chion. You pronounce it however you please. The guy Shane.
Chion.
Yes.
Just kidding.
No, please. So anyway, this Draghkar is feeding on her. She's a goner. It tries crooning on him, but he can feel the crooning kind of sliding across the void because he's holding the one power, and it kind of slides around, and then Rand's sword slides into its head from the top down to its nose, and it's kind of like a shocked look in its eyes as it falls to the ground dead.
As one would do when your head is split in half.
Yes.
What's shock, look, and death is inevitable. I've got the dark saber in my face.
So that one's dead. But when he looks up, there's another one coming out of a hallway behind Avienda. He raises his sword. She ducks. That's her instinctive Maiden of the Spear maneuvers, muscle memory. And he shoots fire from his sword, like a fire beam. I thought at first it was balefire, but it's not. It's just regular old fire. And sets that other one in flames. And tells her to go wake everybody up. I love Avienda running around. You just imagine the scene saying, up spears, waking up spears, and just, now you guys are going to shit. Now you've woken up Cold Rock's hold, and they are ready to kick your ass. Side note, the burning Draghkar just smells like plain old burnt meat. Not like a burning fade, which I assume is distinctive. So, back onto the road.
To Borderlanders with experience.
Yes, of course. Trollocs pour into Cold Rock's hold at that point, down at the bottom, obviously, and the battle ensues. Rand burns another Draghkar right out of the sky. The thing hasn't even landed yet. I love that. So, yeah, major attack happening. We've never seen 3 of them in one place at one time. All right. With the one that was chasing them out of Eamon's Field, right in book 1. Another one there in the Borderlands with Adelaus and what's her name? Moritz's favorite duo. Vandine. Moritz, you have a very intimate relationship with those 2 ladies up in the north. That came out wrong, but you know what I mean.
I know their names.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the story. Down in the valley as well, there's fighting going on, and then Ruach and Matt appear because Rand is now just fighting his way down to the bottom as well with his flaming sword. I love the imagery that they have as well in this text. Like the flaming sword is casting a pool of light around him, so everything else is in darkness, but he's just this moving ball of light and death as he goes down. So yeah, Ruach and Matt appear, the former handing him a shufa, but Rand takes it and just goes, no, man, throws it on the ground and says, they are hunting me, let them see my face. And that's when he starts laughing maniacally as well. Yeah. And Matt thinks to himself, oh God, here we go.
Here we go.
Speaking of Matt, we jump to Matt's point of view. He's not happy that Rand's always causing trouble for him. And he thinks he thinks to himself as he pulls his Ashandare from a trolloc's chest. The battle has been raging a while because now, like from his point of view, that Moraine has already stopped fireballing everybody and she's starting to heal the wounded around. So basically, that's dying down already. As she's along, she's being helped as well by the non-fighting Aiel. I've written here if there is such a thing. So I suppose those non-clan. Well, what do you call them? Not the fighters.
Warrior societies.
Warrior societies. Thank you. Have stopped their little scuffles and now they're tending to the wounded. A maiden stops by to tell him that he dances the spears very well, and she thinks that the Trollocs might have gotten the upper hand if it wasn't for Moraine. But Matt's military mind kicks in here again with those memories, and he's like, no, this looks like a distraction. There wasn't enough. This is probably so that they could get to Rand. And she kind of looks at him in a different light, impressed, and asks if he is a battle leader among the Wetlanders. And I'm thinking, yeah, more than you know, lady, more than you know. He's thinking to himself, shut up, Matt, shut up. But too late. At the dodgy peddlers, you have to remind me again. Shifty peddlers wagons. The people that I can't pronounce, Kadire and Kiel, whatever, are missing. They're nowhere to be seen. Isendre is there. Matt sees her. He's like, ooh, here's a chance to say, hey, I'm here to protect you. You've nothing to worry about. She's just kind of, not even making eye contact with him. I don't know what she's looking at. She's looking over his head into the distance, and then she just slams the door of the wagon in his face and turns around, and he's like, pfft. Maybe she knows that he gave away her necklace.
I think I was just trying to find Rand.
Yeah. All right. Maybe she's looking right at Rand.
With him.
Finding that ball of light running around, killing things.
I reckon she had a stern talking to by Lanfear, saying your purpose and the only reason I have you here is for you to go and try and pick up Rand. If I see you around Matt again, I will slit your throat.
I'll skin you alive.
Or maybe Isandre's job is to pick up Matt. I can't imagine Lanfear trying to convince or force a woman onto Rand.
Well, she's not doing a good job either way.
Whatever she's supposed to be doing, she's failing at it.
Yes, it's not working. Although, she might be playing super hard to get, and it does seem to be working on Matt, because he's obsessed with her. That's all he can think about.
He is.
So maybe, us three wool-headed morons here, we don't get it. So at that point, Rand and Avienda arrive. She's running with her skirts up and realizes, oh, shit, I'm not a maiden anymore. Calm yourself, woman. Straightens herself out. Rand's flame sword is creating like a halo of light around both of them. Moraine's there too now. She's telling Rand that Imre's stand might have been just a general attack on the Aiel, but she doubts it. But this is definitely an attack on him. And he tells her, yeah, I know. I'm well aware of what's happening. Everyone knows, technically, Moraine is the last of the people to realize this. She tells him, like, look, shit happens when you try and force prophecies to happen. Like, you're out here trying to force the prophecy, and nothing goes right when you try and force the pattern. So stop it. Rand's very dismissive of her at this point, and all she wants is for him to confide in her. He's like, well, tell me straight. You 3 O's, you can't lie. What do you want? She says, I just want you to confide in me. And he says, okay, fine, I'll confide in you if you don't try to stop me from doing what I want. And she's like, all right, I won't try to stop you, but I'm not going to watch as you walk into danger and get yourself killed. But that doesn't cut the mustard for him, unfortunately. It's all or nothing in his terms. Ruach appears as well at that point, and he's realized the same thing about the Trollocs being a distraction. So all the battle leaders are there making the same assumptions. And everybody's like, yeah, Ruach, we know. He fears that this is only the beginning, that there's going to be another attack. Either it's going to be more trollocs, or they're going to send something more dangerous, like a grey man or something. So he's asked some spears to protect Rand, and this is where the Maidens put their hands up and volunteer. He says, strangely, the Maidens volunteered for this. But anyway, he's going to put the Maidens are going to be like Rand's personal guard, and he's going to put other spears around the spears. Spears around spears. They're going to protect him. Matt suggests at this point that they bring in the Shido to help. Because look, there's more attacks coming. What if they bring another 10,000 trollocs? We could use the Shido. At least as pincushions, just as human shields. But Ruach's like, fuck that noise. I wouldn't trust a Shido with anything. So, and anyway, they left last night. They packed up like yesterday, and they've already headed north. We assume to the Golden Bowl or Al Qaeda, probably meeting Savannah along the way, and that's no good news whatsoever. Rand, this is at the point where Rand decides now, like, all this news, he can't wait 1 month. 1 month is far too long for the clans to gather. They leave now, tonight. He can't let Savannah and Couladin get there first and then start talking smack about him behind his back. Like, it's far too dangerous. Just gonna have to send messages to the other clan chiefs, apologize, sorry, we couldn't wait for you, but things have got to go. Ruach reluctantly agrees, and they plan to leave at dawn. At least they're like, all right, let's just wait until the sun rises before we go. There's no time for custom. Our car brings change. Now, Ruach's trying to say, like, custom dictates, and Rand's like, no more custom. I am here to bring change and break all you guys and all of those things that we won't mention. I'm going to make new customs. Avienda and even Ruach are shocked at this. And I mean, I know Ruach has been pretty accommodating of Rand, but at this point he's like, listen, you can't. He's shocked that Rand is going to go ahead with this. But, get used to it, guys. So Rand asks Matt if he's coming. Of course, Matt agrees, thinking to himself, the only reason he's doing it is because he wants to stay close to those shifty peddlers, because they're his ticket out of here. Like, when they go back to the wetlands, he's going with them. But as he says, like, yes, I'm coming with you, he feels the pattern pulling on him. He's like, God damn it. Like, it's not your decision to make, even though you're pretending it is. And that's basically how the chapter ends. Plans are set.
Nice piece of action there.
Yeah. It's very short.
Rand kicking ass.
Oh, yeah.
Putting out the flame sword and then, like, using it as a sword and then shooting. Like, it seems like he does it on more than one occasion, shooting those bars of fire.
He shoots the one behind Avienda and then the one out of the sky.
The one out of the sky is, what if it was just a flying fox? Just a fruit bat.
The size of a man.
Like, often I stand on my balcony here at night and just after sunset, and I see the flying foxes or fruit bats go through the sky, and I'm like, man, that looks like a Draghkar. I mean, I've never seen one, but that's what I imagine. Big ass wings, and depending on how far they are, the scale can vary. And you're like, oh, that could be freaky. But what if poor thing flying, like, oh, it's so difficult to get fruit in this bloody place. It's so fucking hot over here. It's so dry.
The waste.
Thinking, like, where am I going to get fruit tonight? And then light bar of fire, dead.
Well, you don't have the fruit problem anymore.
They say Australia is a dangerous place. You even have Draghkar flying around your skies. Whole new level.
Did you guys also cringe internally when Rand asks for wash water?
No, but I did think...
No, he's the king of kings. I mean, he can get some wash water.
He's a guest here. I was like, maybe it's like not what we've learned thus far, but what we've learned over our time with the series and multiple reads. Like, we know how much water means to them. So, like, him asking for something with which to wash his body, it's like, oh, Rand, no, don't do that. No.
Well, he was told that he can have whatever he wants, and she's supposed to give him whatever he asks for.
Well, yes, I was going to say, Rand was not told you can have whatever you want. The guy Shane was told bring him whatever he asks for.
No one was expecting a giant
little
bowl
bit
of
water to wash in.
to wash myself.
I mean, haven't they learned that you can take that water afterwards and give it to the plants, give it to the veggies? I mean, it's not a complete waste.
Depends on how dirty Rand was. I'm not going to pour that over my tomats.
And how much he spills on the floor.
Nice sodium for them and everything else.
Did you guys pick up on Melaine being cut off mid-sentence? she was going to say something, and I've got a pretty
Yes.
wild theory about what she was going to
Oh,
say.
please. I did think about that.
She goes, what we want? Melaine snapped. Her long hair swung as she tossed her head. The prophecy says, a remnant of a remnant shall be saved. What we want, Rand al'Thor, Kara Khan, is to save as many of our people as we can. Whatever your blood and your face, you have no feeling for us. I will make you know our blood for yours if I have to lay the... I think Amis cut her off smoothly. I think she was going to say, if I have to lay a bridal wreath at his feet. I think that's what she was going to say. Like, if you have to be one of us, if I have to fucking marry you to incorporate you into the Aiel so that you think of us as your people, I will do that. But Amis quickly cuts her off.
I didn't mention that in my recap because I did notice that, but I couldn't think of why she would say that and lay what. So I'm just like, I'll skim over it.
That's why I went to bridal wreath.
Captain Pedantry to the rescue. Yeah.
Because the only thing they lay in front of him, even in Age of Legends, the women do that for the men.
Just true.
What else? I quite enjoyed that when Rand's falling asleep, his thoughts drift to Perrin and home. Like, he hasn't forgotten about our old beefy boy. Like, he still thinks of home. He's still human.
Isn't it Matt at the end of this chapter as well? Thinks like, how the hell did Perrin get away from him? It's like they're both thinking of Perrin, but Matt for different reasons.
Meanwhile, there's even more trollocs coming for Perrin, Matt. Relax.
You don't want to be there.
After that dream that Rand has with Lanfear biting him in the shoulder, he has a cold smile on his face. He's
a kinky dream,
losing
dude.
it a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel my mask of sanity beginning to slip. I quite like how direct Rand was with Moiraine. Like, his words to her, when she answers him, he goes, as clear as most of your explanations. What do you want, Moiraine? It's late and I'm tired. Just be direct for once. I don't have time for this. Quite like that. I like him standing up to Moiraine. As much as I love Moiraine, she is very blinkered in her views. And I like it when Rand pushes back, because ultimately we know that Rand is right.
She needs to stop her tower politics type talk. She's not playing dice no more with Rand.
No. But you're right.
She
has to.
It's so ingrained in her, but she has to realize, and I think this is what's really important in all of these chapters for her to actually just realize, like, stop this. Like, just speak to him with the respect that he deserves, and just honestly, just stop trying to manipulate him to your purpose. He doesn't belong to the tower.
When he was a little farm boy and you were the one that was basically keeping him alive, it made sense for you to take the lead. But now you need to take a much more sort of like a cooperative and collaborative approach. Right? You can't just boss him around and manipulate him anymore, because you yourself, Moiraine, have noticed how stubborn he can be, and the Two Rivers people can be in general. Like, she's doing herself no favors by being all Aes Sedai around him. She's not learning her lesson either. With all of that out of the way, we can move on to chapter 51, which is called Revelations in Tanchico. Take it away, Willie.
We are back in Tanchico. Girls, 7 days later from their previous stupidity encounter, have now resided in the fact that it is just too crazy out on the streets. Like, they've had a few close calls again, and they can't get a actual coach to drive them around. So now they've been kind of locked up in the inn, and the boys are going out and doing reconnaissance. Or not the boys, I should say the men, and they are stuck inside. Now, they've had 4 visits from Aegeanan, and they have sort of discussed Aes Sedai talk. So they're still talking it all out, and now today they are eating what appears to be chopsticks being used to eat Asian food, and this is now the current fashion. Fashion changes quickly in Tanchico, it seems. Quickly to whoever's the overlord in whatever war's happening. Like, cool, we'll adopt their ways real quickly to fit in. Let's just keep this
just
rolling.
in case.
Rendra just goes with it anyway. Now, none of them can really work those chopsticks. there's a name for them. Sticks, lacquered breast sticks, whatever.
Yeah.
But towards the end, Rendra says, like, if you really struggle with this, I did leave underneath those napkins some knives and forks for you. And she's
not a
herself
monster.
out of the room. To which Elaine likes to eat, it seems. She doesn't shy away from a meal.
She grew up in a palace.
But between Eggy and Elaine, they quickly hop for the knives and forks and spoons, and they dig in, rap at the door, and in comes Bale Doman. Yarr, Mr. Krabs.
And he wants a
With that,
crusty burger.
he spots Eggy. Eggy spots him, and she jumps up. She goes flying, and she gives him a punch in the gut. But before the punch can land, Doman's already got a hand. Scuffle ensues. He throws her to the floor, knee on the neck, and he's got her down. Like, you stay there. She pulls a knife, but at that moment, Elaine just wraps both of them up in air, and they're like, WTF, mate, what are you doing with our friend? This is just not on. And he's like, what are you talking about? See Sean Shan. Look at her. She is the one that came and took my ship. She took me to Falmey. She is the one that took all my precious loot and gave it to Lord Turak, whatever his name was. It's like,
that's it.
And
Lord Two Halves.
the two halves sliced in the middle all the way down. Now this causes immense internal like strife for both Elaine and Nynaeve. Like, they actually really started getting a liking into Aegean, and like really like struck off a friendship, and this plays heavily on them. And now they need to try and figure out what are they going to do with her. But at the same time, Elaine's like, look, I'll let you go. But first they disarm Aegean and get the knife so she doesn't get to stab anyone else. And say, okay, back away, get her to stand up, pull up a chair, sit down. Like, there'll be no fighting, there'll be no stabbing, there'll be no biting. Dale's like, but she threw punch first. Like, now, Baldomin, the reason why he came in is, and as he walked in, he announced he had found them. And Nynaeve was like, okay, cool. Let's just tell us that. And I was like, well, in front of the enemy. She's like, look, this is deep enough in. You might as well just blurt it out. Like, now that we realize what she is and what we've said to her, like, we're probably going to have to slit her throat now.
We've been telling her Aes Sedai secrets for a whole week. Like
4 days long, she's been telling her secrets. And he's like, yeah, no, they are in the panarch's palace. He had spotted the one with the cats. And she's like, well, how can you be so sure? It's like, this whole place is dying from hunger. And you've got a woman that fits your description feeding cats in the street. Come now. Don't be silly.
With a Saldaean friend.
With a Saldaean friend. Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is them. Nynaeve is very dismissive still at this point, and like it seems to be in that inn. In comes a rap at the door, and another man just walks in. And we've got Julian Sundar. Julian eyes Doman, Doman eyes Julian, but they don't go to blows. Like that, the Ileana and the Terrarian.
The terrarium.
Terrarium. He has a lizard inside him.
Taran. And he's they eye each other, but they don't go to blows. And Julian says, well, he's got news as well. Same story, he's found him. And just different one with a white streak in the hair that he had followed, and they are in the panarch's palace. They've made themselves at home there. And then, Nynaeve then finally, okay, well, that makes it sort of stick now. Now we've got two. And he's like, what? Julian Doman got you first with the news? And they tried to one-up each other. And Nynaeve's like, just shut up. Like, both of your news is important.
Elaine plays the diplomat here and quietens things down quickly. I took a note, like, this is Elaine again, like she used to do with Nynaeve and Egwene. She's always like,
Mm.
calming everyone down, keeping them on point, keeping them focused. God bless Elaine.
She's like, you both are right. Without the one, the other one wouldn't have been accepted. It would have been accepted as folly. There we go. 2 ticks. And, well, what happens there? Knock at the door and Tom sticks his head in. Now, these guys are appearing more and more bruised every time they walk into that room. No different with Tom, but he is also like, hey, got some news for you. And everyone's like, we know.
And he's crestfallen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, what? It's like, damn, I got third. But anyway,
Getting
same
slow
news,
in my
same
old
story.
age.
He then everyone then gets also informed that, okay, Jen that's been hanging out here is actually Sean Shan, and he was really like, I've heard such terrible things, and she's been pretty nice and amicable. But eventually they have all been instructed to sit down and enjoy lunch. After all the last scraps have been finished of the weirdly little bowls fashionable lunch, their sushi meal, the men go again on their information scouting mission. And what's really wrapping Nynaeve and Elaine is like, is she there? The a lady
Amathera.
Amathera, is she there as a partner to the Black Ajah? Is she there as a hostage, or are they like, what is actually going on? Like, that's going to be the first thing that needs to be figured out. That's going to be really important. And then secondly, what are they going to do with Eggy now? Like, do they get her locked up in a storeroom here, which is going to create more questions? Through all of this, Eggy has played along amicable. So much so also to contributing to the discussions that's being had about what's their next move. And even Bale's piping up for and say, like, hey, as much as you don't, but good advice is good advice, no matter what mouth it comes from. You have to listen to sound advice. So the whole demand discussion pipes up then as well about the Suldam, and she's like, well, do you know, Nynaeve having an argument with the Jian, do you know that your Adam can actually work on your Suldam? And she's like, yes, I do. This is my whole purpose here is, and she explains that she had already caught one of the Suldam and tied her with the Daman, but also let her go, which buys her a little bit of favor and goodwill in this situation. Because
That's Bethaman,
look,
right?
Yeah.
yeah,
She's the one
Bethan,
that goes to Saladar later. Moritz, you were telling us. Is that her?
Yeah, she's got a whole arc. She goes back to Sean-chan
All right.
and then comes back and then defects.
yeah, that it's very interesting. That, like, the way that Janin goes into this is, it's so hard for Elaine, much more so than Nynaeve, to dislike her. Like, she's already set up and she's already helped them. Nynaeve throws out, well, you might have even planned that. Like,
Yeah. Nynaeve is predisposed to disliking everyone. Like, her default state is, I dislike you until you prove me wrong. So
Yep.
it was a lot easier for Nynaeve to fall back into that. Also, Nynaeve obviously has a very close bond with Egwene, and she mentions, like, for weeks Egwene was having nightmares and stuff. It was pretty rough.
I like the theme over these last 2 chapters has been, yeah, I already know. Like with the Aiel, like, this was a distraction. Yeah, I know. Arriving there at the Panarch's palace. Yeah, I know. The Suldam can channel. Yeah, I know. It's like, why are we even telling anybody anything?
Yeah, Dad, you told us.
Yeah, so the new plan that has now been set is that evening, none of the men will be allowed out to go and investigate or follow up their leads, much to their displeasure. And they are to sit as guard at the door and roster through the night, because Iggy will stay with Elaine and Nynaeve in the room, and they'll get a letter brought in and say that the disruption in the streets is too much, because during that there's also a bit of a raucous outside in the streets. It's a really unsettled Tanchico at the moment. Riots is rife at the moment, and that gives them at least buys them a little bit of time where they figure out what they'll do with her. And that is pretty much the end of that chapter. It's again not a particularly fat one with action,
but pretty big revelations in that chapter, and we did get to see the judo we've been talking about right at the beginning, because that Bell Domin Aiel fight, that's full on judo. That's trips. He talks about them moving their feet, kind of like trying to trip each other with their feet.
Yeah, that's cool.
Combat style.
Elaine mentions, I really should set up a pension for Tom so he can just retire. It's like, shit, he would not be happy to hear that come out of your mouth. And speaking of another thing that Elaine completely misread, she thinks to herself, sometimes Nynaeve's bullying works. Maybe Rand would respond to occasional bullying. No.
It's the last thing he needs. Another woman in his life bullying him.
That would be foolish, Elaine. Now, something I noticed is that the girls are channeling left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Where earlier, they didn't even want to channel in the street. And then Margideon even comments when she's got them, she's got the compulsion weave on them, like, oh, that was wise of you to not channel, because yes, it would have alerted and did alert me to your presence and all that sort of stuff. Oh. But now they're just channeling all over the place. They're just wrapping people up in air. And
well, Elaine is.
Not really.
Nynaeve's not angry enough yet.
It doesn't matter.
Maybe they think now that they know where the Black Ajah is and that they're all the way up in the Panarch Palace, that's too far away. But again,
and they don't remember.
They didn't know that when
they channeled before they got this news.
Before they got the news, because that's what's saying. What I thought at first, because it was strange to me as well. Like, wait a minute, you're just channeling willy nilly now? Is that just the thing, or
they were super careful? Maybe after channeling in the street and then not remembering the Margideon meeting. They thought, well, we channeled in the street and nothing happened, so maybe it is safe.
Mochtin.
Maybe. Sorry, Mochtin. Correction. But yeah, that's pretty much all. Like, I mean, this is one of those table setting chapters, right? Like, okay, cool. Finally, we can put away our doubts about how come Nynaeve and Elaine don't recognize this drawling accent. Okay, now it's out in the open. They know she's Sean Chan. We can stop harping on about that. But
I got table setting chapters in this one.
In both? Oh, Jody got a battle.
Yes. And this chapter of mine is pretty revelatory.
Blades sliced in half, and then the next one is a World of Dreams, Brigitte. Everything happens.
You'll get a spicy one next.
Circe is the name of the chopsticks.
Here we go. Thanks, Joe. Saved me a callback.
I was just going through the chapter to find something else, and I saw that. Because there's a point where Elaine says, so it's either one of three things. She's a captive, she's a collaborator, or a... What was the third thing? And then Tom looks at her approvingly, and she thinks, ooh, like she gets like a good feeling that Tom approves.
She thinks to herself, or she says that either Amathera thinks that they are Aes Sedai and she's just working with them because they're Aes Sedai, or Amathera herself is a dark friend and knows that they are Black Ajah, or she is completely their hostage and is not acting on her own volition at all.
Okay, so those are the three things. I knew there were three, but I couldn't remember the exact details. Right.
Good old Elaine again. Was it Elaine or was it Nynaeve? I was about to praise Elaine for being methodical.
Elaine.
Okay, good.
The other thing to note detective as well, of course, now is who's our favorite white cloak?
Carradine,
Jason Carradine, and the white cloaks have surrounding Jacob.
I refuse to.
Dead man walking. That's all that I can do. He's heavily on the booze, and him and his men are guarding the Panarch Palace. And then there's still the actual palace guards and the city watch in there as well. So it's not sort of just okay, we're going to walk up and climb like Rapunzel up a tree and jump through an open window or something.
Or like Rand and Matt scale the castle wall and walk through the gardens into the castle itself.
Yeah. They did it in the Stone of Tyr as well. Oh, no, wait. They did have to blow a hole
No,
in
that
the
was the
wall with
Aiel.
explosives. All right. Yeah, but they just generally do
And
get into
Rand.
these places pretty easily. I mean, I've read these chapters up again, and they do basically just stroll into the Panarch's palace unopposed.
Fantastic. Okay. Last chapter for this episode is chapter 52, and it's called Need. Take us through that, please, Jody.
Yes, need indeed. Nynaeve. Willie, at the end of the chapter, I think that we skipped over the fact that they put on the ring and went to sleep to go to Tel Anriad. Or was I just not listening?
I thought that was in. I think that was in your chapter. Maybe I just didn't
No.
bring that up. But yes, the plan is to go to sleep. Nynaeve will go to sleep and wear the ring that night.
In the void between the two chapters, someone went to sleep and entered Tel Anriad.
Basically, it was Nynaeve's turn, and she said, like, even after all of this, we have to go because Egwene's waiting for us. She's expecting us. We have a date. So anyway, Nynaeve opens her eyes, and she is in the heart of the stone, ruining the day that she ever met Edgy. Egwene appears with Amis and Bear, commenting on Nynaeve's plate mail dress and metal staff. So she was contemplating all the deceit around her and the traps being set and the danger, and unconsciously put herself in kind of a mix between Shannara armor and Two Rivers clothing, like some weird combination. So she unconsciously changed her appearance, and Egwene comments on that. Egwene, Bear, and Amis are misty, almost transparent. They're not there as they normally are, and that's because they are currently sitting in their saddles, half asleep, half awake, on their way to Alcar Dal. This is obviously the next morning for them in the West, after they've decided to hit the road. So they tell her about the attack. They tell Nynaeve, and Sienna, we learn as well, one of the Dreamwalkers was killed. So one of the Wise One Dreamwalkers died in that attack. Rand is playing his cards pretty close to his chest, and Egwene doesn't know if he's acting out of madness or design. It's a bit of both, but mostly design. The madness is a factor there. I think the madness is just affecting how he's acting on his design, the external signs. So Nynaeve gives Egwene their progress report in Tanchico. Nynaeve asks if it's possible to enter Amathera's dream to find out what exactly the Black Ajah is looking for in the palace. And the Wise Ones are like, no. They caution against it very strongly. If you go into her dream, Amathera would control Nynaeve. It's her dream. She controls everything. So they call her a fool girl, which does not sit well with Nynaeve, of course. And they change her appearance into that of a little Aiel girl with short skirts and the pigtails like they did with Egwene.
Egwene goes and slaps her hand over her mouth.
Yeah. It's goddamn, not your turn. Nynaeve's other option is to bring Amathera into Tel Anriad, but that's even worse. And other Wise Ones are even more shocked, and they're like, no, that's an evil thing. They heard like every Wise One that's a Dreamwalker has been taught generation from generation never to do that was a thing of the shadow towards the end of the Age of Legends, and it's bad juju. You don't do that. And they wouldn't show her even if they knew, because so they don't learn that, so they don't know. And even if they did, they're not going to share it. But need.
Sorry, Joe, just over there, it got me thinking. The dreams that the boys had when they started going on their quest with Moraine.
Yeah.
Was Baal-Zamon projecting him into their dreams or pulling them then into the world of dreams?
I think the latter. I mean, if it's a thing of the shadow from the Age of Legends specifically, it could have been Baal-Zamon pulling them into those dream shards that we found out about. Yeah. So maybe that's the mechanism in which they do it.
I mean, if there's someone from the shadow during the Age of Legends that would have been doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
your Forsaken are the prime candidates.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
They would know.
So
the only candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking back sort of purely where was this used and them going to sleep sort of the early adventure days. So when Rand goes to sleep, and what we just had, where Rand dreams of Elaine and Min in the pool, and also inviting Avienda in for threesome, then Lanfear put herself in his dream, which she must be. He's in control of that dream then.
No,
Or
she's
did
controlling
she
it.
pull him into the world of dreams
She's
and let his
something like
mind
that.
populate it?
Again, she's another Forsaken, so maybe she's been watching his dreams. Maybe she watched him go to the Waterwood the first time when he also sees Egwene. Maybe
And she pulls
she knows
him
about it
into
and
that.
she's recreating it or something. But again, another Forsaken, so another prime candidate for pulling someone else into this forbidden thing.
Maybe that's what Asmodeans think about the risks. You take too many risks. If we're going to risk this, maybe she is in his dream, and that's why Asmodeans like, this is too risky. I don't know.
Maybe.
But then why would he be there as well?
Because Rand has the power in his dream.
Exactly why it's risky. But then I don't think Asmodean would go in there as well. I don't know. Thoughts?
Oh, he was a blur. Maybe he was just like paging in, like plugging in, like text message.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, Lanfear, what the hell are you doing?
It's an IM. All right. Right. More pins. Let us know by writing it.
Please, let's discuss.
Yes. This whole World of Dreams thing is weird, to say the least. But anyway, so all of these previous plans that Nynaeve has are evil, bad, don't do it. But need is the key. Hence the title, again, of the chapter. To know exactly what the Black Ajah want in the palace, she needs to ask for the Wise One's help. And they tell her, like, wow, you Aes Sedai make a request for help sound like a demand. And Nynaeve thinks to herself, like, I thought I was begging you from my perspective. But we all know Nynaeve, she probably was demanding anyway. So yeah, they tell her the whole thing about the need again. We've seen this theme pop up before, and that Nynaeve is the hunter. So the danger being that there is danger in this as well, because you have to basically close your eyes, imagine your need, and then you go blindly to the next spot. Like you'll just jump to the next place, and you don't know where you're going to land and what's going to be there. They equate it, like they tell a story about like how they, if a hold gets too populated, they have to go find another one. And in the dream, they go and look for these places that have water, but it's no use finding water if you're in the middle of a viper's nest or something, so you never know. It's dangerous, but it's the only option left for her if she wants to use Tel Anriod to find out what she needs. With that, they leave with plans again to meet in 7 days. And Nynaeve pointedly thinks to herself, better, she didn't mention Aegianan because of Egwene's connection and everything. Rather just keep that under wraps for now. So, time to put this need approach into action. She disguises herself as a Terrabono woman, Rendra specifically. She wasn't intending to be like that, but she looks at herself in a mirror that also just magically appears. And she's like, oh, shit, I've disguised myself as Rendra. So even if she gets spotted, they won't recognize her. She'll just look like any other local. So, closing her eyes, she focuses on her need being danger to Rand, Panarch's palace, and opens her eyes after feeling the shift. And she's in a luxurious bedroom. Lady Amathera is there, and she's standing up bound with flows of air to the bedpost and being guarded by Tamale? Tamale, we'll call her. So that answers our question. In cahoots or captive? The answer is captive. She is a prisoner. She's being tortured and being taught bawdy songs. I don't know what kind of a torture that is, but Amathera is not liking it one little bit. So basically, she's just wearing basically nothing again, and she's glistening with sweat and fear in her eyes. So maybe what Nynaeve is seeing is just a portion of the torture. We didn't get to see the really bad stuff. Thank goodness. I'd rather not.
Nynaeve recounts that even amongst the Black Sisters, Tamale was known for one who enjoyed causing pain.
You would think all the Black Ajah would be like that, but for them to make specific mention of it amongst themselves, it's like, whoa, this woman is bad. So, Amathera, because now when Nynaeve appears in the room, she is facing Amathera, but behind Tamail's back. So Tamail doesn't see her at this point. But Amathera sees Nynaeve. Tamail notices that she's seen someone, and as she's beginning to turn to look who it is, Nynaeve panics, closes her eyes, thinks of the need again, and disappears. But then when she reappears, she realizes that maybe, even if she was seen, she would also just appear as some Terrabiner. We'll do the correct pronunciation. And that they would have thought that it was just some random woman dreaming herself in and then flashing away. But anyway, she reappears inside the display room, or the museum, as I like to call it, with all with the white rope going around the side, and all the big skeletons and all the little, knickknacks lying around. And while she's there, looking down the hallway, she sees another woman appear. Hey, Willie, it's Mortine. We know it's Mortine. She, at this point, doesn't know who she is because she doesn't remember, obviously, the compulsion. Mogideon looks at one of the displays and then moves on to another display where there's something black. So the first one she looks at, she kind of has a little smile on her face, and then moves on to go and look at what we know as the male Adam, the 2 bracelets and the necklace. Nynaeve realizes this is not some random woman, though. She doesn't remember exactly, but she thinks maybe this is not somebody who just dreamed herself here by accident. She realizes that this is somebody, and she can't quite put her finger on it, but she has a visceral reaction to her. She starts clenching her fists and shaking, and then all these images start bursting into her head of the time that Mogideon had her and Elaine under compulsion, and she realizes that she doesn't know that it's Mogideon. She doesn't know that it's a Forsaken. She thinks it's a Black Ajah sister. But whoever it is, this person is going to shit herself now, because now Egwene is...
Why does that happen?
Why does what happen?
Why does she all of a sudden remember everything? Because she remembers the full conversation. She basically gets all that memory that was lost back by seeing Mogideon.
Maybe that's something that happens with compulsion.
Maybe we're speculating here, right? It's not called out. There's no hard and fast rule about this, but I'm thinking like the way in which it's conveyed is also around like Nynaeve. She has an initial realization, and then like compulsively like tugs at her braid, and maybe that's driving up her anger for a reason that she doesn't understand. Maybe as her block is dissipating, maybe her actually being able to sense or touch the source. I mean, she doesn't embrace the source. She doesn't say that she embraces the source here or anything, but maybe her just her sheer strength breaks through whatever blocks have been placed. Because I mean, for Nynaeve to not have those memories anymore, there'd have to be a residual something left on her to keep that from resurfacing.
That makes a little bit of sense.
And maybe the way that she's building up her anger
because
allows her to break through that.
Start reaching out, and she gets like
she's about to.
Yeah. So anyway, she remembers, and she gets mighty pissed off. But she does remember like telling her everything. She starts remembering all the details, and had that feeling that she had to please her like a little lapdog, and that pisses her off to no end. And she decides to teach her a lesson with the power. But before she can embrace Saidar, our good old buddy Brigitte arrives. And she's like standing behind a column, and she sees Nynaeve, and she just puts her finger up to her lips like, shh, hang on, wait, and like kind of gesturing like, come this side, and let's talk about this before you go crazy. And Nynaeve's like, no man, fuck you, whoever you are, and turns around to attack, but Mogideon's gone already. And now she's even more angry. Because whoever this random lady is that looks like Brigitte is has let her quarry escape. She goes to find this woman into the next little room, and to give her an earful, of course, for messing everything up. And Brigitte introduces herself and tells her that that lady that you were about to attack is one of the Forsaken. Her name is Mogideon. And that man as well, like she was also there in Ruidian in the World of Dreams when Nynaeve was there, and that guy that she was about to disturb is Asmodean, and Nynaeve's like, oh, okay, good thing Brigitte is popping up around when Nynaeve is about to attack Forsaken, all unknowingly. Yeah, thanks, Brigitte. She does save the day a lot from now on, both in the world of dreams and in the real world. So we did also get at this point, Nynaeve starts asking questions, and we get a little, have a little chat about the whole Horn of Valia thing and how it's connected to the heroes, etc., etc. At Felme, they were not there in the flesh. Like when the horn calls them, they don't come out into the real world. That's why they're invulnerable. That's why the one power can't kill them, and why they're such a powerful force, so they can touch the real world without being touched themselves. That's been, that's now canon for me, at least. This is the first time it's been that I've read about it, so now I understand. Okay, that's why there's such a bonus to have on your side. But here in the world of dreams, she is vulnerable, so that's why she's not fucking around with Moghedien, because the one power can destroy her here as well. And that Brigitte also mentions here that she has been watching Nynaeve and Egwene and Elaine, and also, I quote, the young man with the wolves. At this point, I don't think Nynaeve knows about Perrin's wolf connection, because they've been separated so long. So she doesn't connect that with Perrin. Egwene will, but not her. And that Brigitte has been felt compelled to be helping them this entire time, even though it goes against the precepts, which led me down a whole little garden path of who set up these precepts, because she talks about being in the wheel, having lived hundreds, thousands of lives over and over. So it's been maybe since the dawn of like, how old is the Horn?
Maybe they were a select number of souls that are spun out over and over and over again, but the Horn didn't exist. And then at some point, someone developed a mechanism by which to call on them. Because I had the same thought, Joe. Like, isn't the inscription on the Horn in the old tongue? But their lives go further back than the Age of Legends. And,
so someone in the Age of Legends figured it out.
Would be my guess.
Well, I take it as the dragon gets spit out by the pattern, they themselves also get spit out by the pattern into
and they say as much
the whole time.
Yeah, but the Horn offers a different way of coming, not fully in the flesh. They're not reborn as babies and grow full lives and all that stuff. They come through.
What I was wondering is, she makes reference to who's the man that joins them there? What's his name?
Guidal
Kane. That he gets born just before her. So when she can't find him in the world of dreams, it means that soon she's about to be spun out as well. What happens if someone blows the horn while they're busy being infants in the real world? Or is there remnants of them that stays?
They just don't come.
Okay.
Because if they're not in the world of dreams,
only the ones that are left behind in Tel'aran'rhiod will come out as the heroes.
As the heroes.
And the rest just carry on.
So the horn sounder is rolling the dice and saying, give me the best heroes you got. Whoever's on deck.
Yeah, whoever's on duty this turning. You come on out and help us. Yeah, but no, it can't have been just the Age of Legends, because that would mean that they've only been called once before. And that's not the impression I get, is that the Horn has called them before many, many times to come and fight.
Maybe it was inscribed during the Age of Legends.
Or maybe that language has been, from previous turnings, has, come and gone many, many, many times before. Possible.
Again, listeners, let us know. Put us out of our misery.
Yes. No, I think there's just going to be more speculation, but we welcome it. So, speaking of precepts and Guidal Kane, here he is. He appears too. And he tells them, he's like, yes, the precepts. Remember those. He's warning of breaking these precepts and that there's dire consequences. I don't know what would happen again. There's more speculation if they break these precepts. But anyway, it doesn't seem like there's much of a problem, because Brigitte has been breaking them since the last book, or whenever she first appeared. Nynaeve mentions that she can see the affection between the two of them, and Brigitte tells him, Aiel, that she can't do nothing. If she sees that the shadow is rising, I think it's the first time we've seen the name of the book in the text, although what I remember, and that she can't sit by, even though she hasn't been called yet, she's got to do something. She seems to be unique, though, because she's talking to Nynaeve. You can see her. And when she turns back to talk to Nynaeve, Nynaeve mentions that Gaidel just carries on like sharpening his swords. And to him, it seems that Nynaeve is talking, that Brigitte is talking to the air. So there's some sort of difference. Like, he can't see Nynaeve. Neither can the wolves, remember? When Perrin is talking to Brigitte, the wolves can't see Brigitte.
Yeah, the wolves can see her, yeah.
Yeah, and they're talking, he's just making noises at the air or something. So there's something different about her. Something unique. But anyway, there's that warning. And anyway, Gaidel Kane is very against taking any action until the Horn calls them. Because apparently, during the Age of Legends, Moghedien had threatened to make Brigitte weep alone for as long as the wheel turns if she interferes again or something along the line. Because obviously they're vulnerable in the world of dreams. And she could kill her there, and that's the end. She'll never be reborn again. But still, she offers some intel on Moghedien. Apparently, she's the strongest in Tel Aonriad, stronger than Lanfear, even though Lanfear admits will have you believe otherwise, although Lanfear is stronger in the power when they're in the real world. We learn more about Moghedien here, her personality. Like, she takes no risks. She would hide rather than fight openly, and she will run if she fears defeat, even if it's only the slightest chance of defeat. She is out of there, and actually we see that in this book. So with that, she goes over to Gaidel Kane, and they vanish, leaving old Nynaeve alone. Nynaeve is so angry at this point, because at some point, because when she went to go and find, I forgot to mention this is when she embraces the source to go and find this woman who let Moghedien escape. So she's still holding on to the power and very, very angry. And Willie, this is where she says, like, she's holding so much of the power that it feels like her skin will burn off. And she's thinking, like, maybe she should let go, because so much was going to draw attention to her, where it wouldn't have 5 minutes ago in the previous chapter was not a problem. Now it's a problem. But kind of half wishing that somebody would find her, so she can, let this power out and get some vengeance as well. She wouldn't actually mind being caught by the Black Ajah. But anyway, she does let go of the power and goes over to what Moghedien was looking at first, to that first pedestal that she arrived. And there's inside, there are 6 figurines, and I shall list the ones that are mentioned to us. A foot-tall nude woman dancing, all lines. A shepherd playing a pipe with a crook in his arm or something, with that shepherd's crook. And a seal to the Dark One's prison. Because, these things just line all over the place. And after that, we don't get to find out what the other 3 things were, because after the seal on the Dark One's prison, I suppose the other things are just not that important. Every time I look at or hear a description, because I am looking at them, of these little figurines, I'm like, those are all Angreal or Sangreal. They got to be, I'm sure some of them are just plain old figurines, but I don't know what's the significance of describing these first 2 little figurines in such detail.
Moghedien's reaction to them is weird. Like, she has a smile or something, doesn't she? Like, when she looks down at them.
Yeah, but I think it's because
of the
seal.
seal.
I think it obviously.
But the seal isn't broken, so.
No, she's just like, hey, cool, I found one of the seals. I'll take that before someone fucks with it, like, I'll keep that under wraps. Anyway, Nynaeve decides to continue the search. She's calmed down now. She's let go of the power, so she closes her eyes and continues the search with need. So she's come this far. Opens up her eyes after the shift, and she's only moved across the room. So she hasn't even left the room, so she's close now. Warmer. But she's on the other side of the ropes, and she's standing in front of that case that Moghedien had gone to, the second part, at least, with the male Adam on it. Of course, Nynaeve has no idea what the fuck this thing is, and touches it, and that's where she feels the pain, the sorrow, the suffering. So, yeah, this is important. I've been right here. Like, if she couldn't get any closer to this unless she was actually standing on top of it. So this has got to be the thing that they're looking for. Before she can think or do anything else, that's when Elaine wakes her and brings her back into the world of not dreams. She reports what she found out, which is a lot, actually. Moghedien, Asmodean, Dark Friends, found what we're looking for. Like, all our questions answered. And this is where it is.
Is Amathera helping them or not? She's a captive. We know exactly what we're looking for. We know Moghedien's here. Oh, she compelled us. She knows what we're doing.
Major info dump.
Mission successful.
Could have just done this 2 books ago. Found it out. Anyway, so the need has worked. Thanks, wise ones. So yes, While she's busy describing everything that she's found, she starts describing the male Adam, and during that description to Elaine is when they realize, that sounds an awful lot like the Suldam and Adam and the necklace and everything, and they kind of both look over at Eggy, but she has no idea. She's like, I don't know what you're doing. Like that, I see this the resemblance to what you're talking about, but in Sean-chan, no one's trying to control a male channeler. We just kill them. She's never heard of anything like this before. So now the plan is, of course, we're going to get into the palace. We'll just stroll in later, and we try and save the panarch because she's a captive. We get the seal because I didn't know that was there. We might as well take it while we're there, and we get this Adam or whatever this thing is that is pain and suffering and all that stuff, and we get it out of there because that's what's going to hurt Rand, whatever it is. At this point, again, outside they hear a scuffle and a thumping and some people screaming, and they open the door, and there is Tom. He's getting up off the floor with a head wound, and he is now standing as well next to Bale and Julian as well over there. This random dude is a blonde-haired guy, and he's lying unconscious on the floor, and he's the guy that was apparently just walking down the hall and then just kicked Tom in the head all randomly. Bale and Julian had been coming up anyway to relieve him and take over guard duty. So they were there to stop the attack as it happened. And this is where Edgy Annie, we call her something different every time we mention her, realizes that dude is Sean-chan lying on the floor. And then also realizes that all three of these women are in their undergarments in the hallway. And Julian is leering at them. And Bale Domin is having a very thoughtful glance at Edgy as well, thinking he likes what he sees. She is the most put out by this, even though she's the most dressed out of all three of them. But Sean-chan are weird. We get it. Julian also recognizes the man on the floor as the man who tried to rob him some nights before. So it seems that this is another Sean-chan spy. Is this is not the same guy? That
I think it is.
You think it's that guy?
It is.
Was he also blonde?
The same
I can't
blonde guy
remember.
that keep... Yeah, he was.
It's the guy that's got the glasses on with the big nose and the mustache.
Him, yes.
And he broke that fallen noble's arm while Florent Gelb was stalking the girls.
All right. I just wanted to confirm it with you three. Yes? Speculation?
I read it as the same guy.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Sean-chan questioner.
Yes. I couldn't remember.
What do we call him? Something Gustavo. So Sean-chan
Gustavo.
I imagine him. Did you guys ever watch a show called Allo Allo?
Yes.
Herr Flick, the head of the Gestapo. He's blonde. That's who I imagine.
We call him Gustavo the Gestapo. That's who he is. Well, anyway, he's unconscious on the floor.
Great show.
They ask, well, they know that Egianen has identified him. They ask him well, you know who he is and what he's doing here. We're like, what he might be. And she's like, well, maybe he's found out that I let Bethaman go. So I think the best option really would be just to slit his throat. And everyone's like, what the fuck?
Again.
Option number one, just slit his throat.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that. So they decide rather to just take him outside and throw him in the alley rather than slit his throat. The ladies get dressed. It's plan making time. And Edgy admits that she has the hots for Bale because he was eyeballing her. And she afterwards says oh, he is kind of handsome. And Lane's like, yeah, you shouldn't really say that about Julian. And she's like, Julian? I wouldn't touch that guy with a 10-foot barge pole. He's a thief. Forget it. So there's 2 pages now, literally 2 pages of shit talk about dresses and men, which I will gladly jump over. But however, Elaine has a plan on how to move around the palace unnoticed. Again, one of their infallible disguises, I imagine. The Black Ajah and Mogi will rue the day that they messed with them. Dun, dun, dun. End of chapter.
Yeah. It's like Nynaeve has come so far, hey? Like when they were scared, like when Swan tells them they need to hunt the Black Ajah. Now Nynaeve is like, she's holding the sword. She's hoping the Black Ajah rock up. Moghedian's going to regret ever messing with him.
Yeah.
She is ready to go. Charged up.
For sure.
Do you guys also find it weird that they keep choosing the heart of the stone to go back to in Tel Aran Riyadh? It seems so like exposed, and then also lots of place for people to hide, as
Yeah.
as has happened in that room in the past. Like pick a different spot, you know.
No.
And I guess Egwene and Elaine don't have a lot of common. Or maybe the tower, but is the tower any safer?
Jesus, no. That's even worse. Don't go there.
Well, I've thought about the
Probably.
same thing. Like, okay, I thought, okay, what about why don't they just go to the two rivers? But Elaine hasn't been there, so that doesn't
No.
work. And plus, anyway, is it any safer with Slayer running around there?
Yeah, I mean, nowhere's safe, I guess, is the moral of that
Teleranrion is
story.
not safe in general. Also, they could go to the waste. I mean, Nynaeve's been to Ruidian in the World of Dreams. And also, everything is open and flat. You can see an enemy coming a mile away.
Yeah. Anyway, the heart just always seems like a weird choice to me. Like maybe just because there's been so many Forsaken in it. You know, Belal, Ishamael, Lanfear. You know.
Mogideon is there behind a pillar. I swear to you, right now.
How is Egwene entering the world of dreams while she's sitting in a horse's saddle? And
She's asleep.
the what? Yeah, but
The wise ones are teaching
She's
her.
a dreamer. She has a
Yeah,
talent for it, remember?
no, that's fair enough. Like, are they able just to nod
Magically.
off and go? Like, because how is a Miss and Bear that's there with her? Aren't they? Are they also just cupping a doster, all three holding to
Yeah.
each other on the back
Yeah.
of a horse? Or
Yes.
That's why
Well,
they're all
not the same
misty.
horse, I don't think.
That's why they all three are misty. I mean, they mention as well here that Egwene is mistier than the other two because she's not as well trained, but they can do it while half asleep in the saddle.
Yeah.
So,
I know that
handy
feeling.
skill. Feeling it right now.
Yes. I had a good chuckle at Nynaeve thinking, Moraine's frustration would have been some relief. It's like, that's what she takes out of
Yeah.
out of Egwene's report back. Oh, Moraine's frustrated? Cool, I'm relieved.
Makes everything worthwhile.
But then she thinks like Rand's sanity. When Egwene questions it, she's like, oh, there's not much I can do about it. But John O'Pierce actually wrote in and said that on one of our YouTube videos, we had mentioned that you can't cure madness, but that Nynaeve does eventually actually figure out how to cure madness. So when Nynaeve makes a comment here, oh, Rand's sanity, nothing she could do about that. Actually, in the future, you can. I think she equates it to like pulling thorns out of the brain, like one by one, or out of the mind. You know, like that whole process involved. She can. I mean, Nynaeve goes overpower in the healing section, right? Like healing stilled people, and then like healing madness. Like she is supreme yellow.
Yeah, for sure. That's all in Saladar where she does all that stuff, as I recall. The first healings
A
that
lot
she
of
does
it,
when
yeah.
where she
Yeah.
heals Swan and where she also heals Logain.
The comment that Elaine makes about to Aegean and saying, oh, you better not let Julian flirt with you because Rendra, the innkeeper, will have a problem with that. And I had a chuckle with that. But I mean, Julian ends up with Amathera, the panarch. They rescue her and they end up getting married.
Right.
Julian, man about town.
thief taken, a princess. There's a story in that.
Yeah. Right. So, do you guys have anything else to say about that chapter?
Nope.
Action packed, man.
Yeah. Here we go. Right. The end is in sight. The team is planning a heist. Rand is heading to Alcar Dal for a big confrontation. Well, not confrontation, but to address all of the Aiel. Yeah, shit's happening. Okay, well, in that case, have you guys remembered to pick a favorite moment?
Sort of.
Jody, you look wishy-washy. Villy,
Yeah, I
you also
know.
look unconvinced. Mine is also like an odd choice, but let's
Why
see what
don't
they
you
are.
go
So-
first, Moritz, before someone steals yours this time?
Okay. Mine was that the Rand's basically changing his attitude towards Moiraine. He comes down on her quite hard, and I wanted to just read that section quickly because it brings me great joy. The part that I'd read earlier was, as clear as most of your explanations, Rand said dryly. What do you want, Moiraine? It's late and I'm tired. And she goes, I want you to confide in me, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually he goes, "You want me to confide in you, Moraine? All right, your 3 oaths won't let you lie. Say plainly that whatever I tell you, you won't try to stop me, won't hinder me in any way. Say you won't try to use me for the tower's ends. Say it plain and straight so I know it's true." And she goes, "I will do nothing to hinder you fulfilling your destiny. I have devoted my life to that, but I will not promise to watch while you lay your head on a chopping block." And Rand's response to that is, "Not good enough, Moraine, not good enough. But if I could confide in you, I'd still not do it here. The night has ears." And then he turns his attention to Avienda and he goes, "Even dreams have ears." And Avienda tugs her shawl forward to shadow her face. Even an Aiel could feel the cold, apparently. Like Rand just putting everyone in their place and just saying to Moraine, "Not good enough. I'm sorry. Forget it."
And notice her answer as well. He says, "You will not interfere." And she goes, "I will not interfere in your destiny." Like, it's not the exact words that he said to her.
Nah. She's Aes Sedaiing him, and he's calling her out on it. He's like, "Say it plain, say it clear. No, not good enough." Okay, I'm moving on. How about you, Vol?
I had a tough one trying to find a favorite moment in that. I did enjoy come together of how quickly Nynaeve got the answers, and the girls that I was so upset with just a fortnight ago actually now got their shit together somewhat, a little bit.
Yeah.
They got all their shit and put it in a bag, and they're getting it all together. So I think that was the biggest standout for me, and it's good to see that there's still that hesitation in what they want to do with Iggy, in the sense that they are seeing the same thing that I'm seeing in her. Like, this is just someone that was exposed to their culture that is just different and wrong, but she's open to learn and open to understand different things.
And she seems sincere. Like Elaine is on board. She understands. Like when Nynaeve comes out of the dream world, she's hoping that
hands and
Elaine's hoping that Nynaeve doesn't shit on her for untying the flows of air that bound her hands. I mean, again, has grown on me as well. I like the fact that she's a badass. She is pretty brutal. Like her first suggestion, like, "Oh yeah, this guy's going to be a problem. Better slit his throat." It's like, Jesus. Okay, what is it? What is your next option? Sell him into slavery, just like you do with everyone else.
Probably.
She's hardcore. And how about you, Joe?
I'm going to have to go with the action. I like how easily Rand, the Aiel, Matt, and Avienda all just got together and so easily dispatched that attack. Dual attacks, distractions. Someone planned that. I don't know who planned that, because I think Lanfear's pissed off that somebody did that. Whoever wasn't Lanfear or Asmodean, but that's a whole other discussion. But how easily, like, it's well planned and it's 2-pronged attack and it's just brushed aside. And Rand like even mentions that he says Lanfear's told him he's not even using 1/10 of his power, but he's still, even with 1/10. Draghkar, like 4 of them or 3 or 4, I don't remember how many in the end.
Yeah.
Fist of trollocs, whatever.
Yeah.
Wipe them out.
A lot of laughing. Maniacally.
I'll do the maniacal laughing and Willie can do the animal sounds.
Yeah. No, that is a good one. Good old action. And we are seeing a fair bit of it right now. Okay, so to our listeners, send in your favorite moments, much like John Pierce did for us in this episode. Her favorite moment was the girls diving for the forks after Rendra leaves the room so that they can actually get the food in their mouths.
Yeah.
Which was a nice little comical moment of relief before they set off on their dangerous mission, which is great. So you can send in your favorite moments or any kind of comments or theories or corrections. I mean, God knows we make enough mistakes. You can send those into us via any of our social media links, which are in the description of this episode. A quick one is our Twitter handle, which is @BloodandAshPod. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel, where we are now also at a pretty slow, but, steady, or even steady pace is not accurate. But we've got some stuff up there, and go check it out if you want to see us have this type of rambling conversation on screen.
Yeah. Basically, it's just us. It's just us filming ourselves rambling on.
Yes. Recording this call that we're on right now. So next time, okay, look, we've only got 6 chapters left in the book after this. So I alluded to it in the previous episode. We were still yet to decide on whether we're going to do a bumper one. I think that would run into 4-hour territory. So I think it is wise to split that into 2 episodes of 3 chapters each. So our next episode will cover the chapters 53, called The Price of a Departure, through to the end of chapter 55, called Into the Deep. Any last words from you guys, gentlemen?
9.
Nothing from my end.
All right. Well, with that, we will see everyone next time.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.